good evening. I know I just said it was morning, but it's evening now, baby. It's 9:10 in the afternoon. And welcome back to another video with Vibrant. I'm trying to figure out the channel name at the moment, but when you see it, you'll see it. I'll post it. Um, so my name is Vibrant. I go also by Brent. Whatever you want. Don't really care if you call me anything you want. So today we're going to be understanding compression and how compression affects vocals. So any of these concepts are mainly going to be for vocals. You know, let's say you have a 2-track and you want to mix in your vocals for a song that you're working on. This is going to be the video for you. So here I have a song that I was working on for the last video. The name of the song is called Faith. It's by an artist named Matic, good friend of mine. He also gave me permission to use this song for mixing purposes. So we're gonna go ahead and start with compression. And I want to teach you guys kind of like a concept that I've been having in my head of how I understand compression and also how people have a hard time seeing it and why. Essentially, what compression is, I mean, it sounds like when you hear the word compression, you obviously think of something being squished, right? Compression or compressor in a car is essentially squeezing through, you know, the engine, the intake, or something like that. Compression in let's say video, you know, compressing a video, making it smaller, making it even, right? So compression in audio in general is essentially saying the same thing, right? We're basically squeezing the audio to make it even, so it's like what is it called, the freaking where you make hot dogs and shit, like the freaking squeeze that shit in there. Pause. Sorry, guys. But essentially, that's what you're doing to the vocal. But when we're working with compression, we have to do it in a way that makes it sound more musical, makes it sound good, makes it sound a certain way. So what we're going to be doing today is opening a compressor and understanding what compression settings look like and what they do exactly, okay? So I have this compressor here. It is a stock compressor from Logic. This program is called Logic, by the way. If you guys aren't familiar, I'll probably be doing a video of, you know, how I use Logic, all the shortcuts that I like using, especially when recording people, when mixing, when mastering, when doing all those things. So if you guys want to do that, go ahead and give me a like, give me a comment, let me know if you would enjoy that. Okay, so the compressor here. So let's start from left to right. So right here, this is your input volume. So everything is measured in dB. That is the measurement of volume. It's called decibels. I actually don't know why it's called decibels. I will find out. I'll let you know, or I'll put like a little thing there just to explain what it means. But so essentially, this is how much volume is this vocal that we're using here is going into this compressor. So you could also adjust it. So let's say your vocal was too quiet, then you always bring it up here. Or if it's too loud, you can bring it down. So essentially, this is how much will be going into this compressor. So we can start up here. So these are different types of compressors that this compressor offers. So these are different style compressors. The concepts are all going to be the same. The only difference is that these are going to have different sounds. They're going to sound different. What I mean by that, you would have to play around and find out. So we're going to go ahead and set up here. But before that, let's go ahead and go right here. This is your meter. It could also be a graph. So what the meter is showing you is how much gain reduction is happening. So that whole analogy of squeezing into a hot dog is essentially how small the hole is to be squeezing through. Pause. I'm sorry, guys, but this is the way I've been thinking of. This is not the way I've been thinking about it. I have another one, and I'll explain that analogy later. But so essentially, it's showing us how much it's squeezing the vocal. If that makes sense. Okay. Now, threshold down here. Threshold is the starting point of when it starts hitting the compressor. So threshold will essentially say, okay, if the vocal hits past -20, then it starts compressing. Make sense? So if I'm going, let's say I'm -6 on the vocal, -20 is way past that, so it's already gonna bring it down. Depending on where you have your other settings. So next thing is ratio. Ratio is how much compression is being applied. So for every 2, for example, this one's at 2:1. So every two past that threshold, 1 dB. Every 2 dB passing that threshold, 1 is going to be brought down. So for the analogy here, we're at 20. Let's say it's hitting 10, right? It's hitting -10. So every 2 dB, so that's 5, is going to bring it down 1. So if we do the math, it's going to bring it down 2 dB. So because it's every 2 dB. Sorry, no. I'm talking shit. That is wrong. So the math is not mathing in my head. I am sorry. I am sorry. Every 2 dB. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 5 dB is going to be brought down. Make sense? If it doesn't, I'll try to reword it the best way I can. Okay, so that is what ratio essentially means. The higher you go, the more compression is going to be happening. Okay? Makeup gain. So when you start bringing down the vocal through this compression, obviously it's going to get quieter. So you have to make it up somehow. So they have that function in most compressors called makeup gain. Or it could be input, output, depends on the compressor. So this one is makeup gain. So you'll bring it up based off how much dB reduction you got. So let's say you got 5 dB of reduction, you bring that bitch up 5. You brought it down 10 dB of reduction, you bring it up 10. Basically to get back to that level where you were in context of the vocal in the music. Make sense? Great. Okay, next thing, I have auto gain here. So the Logic compressor gives you the option to basically put it at a certain dB automatically for you instead of using the makeup gain. I like having this off because I like having the control of doing it. Because everything you have to be able to control these things. If not, then it's definitely going to be a problem down the line once you're working with other types of compressors. So it also helps you, figure out what sounds best, right? Knee, I would have to show you more in a demonstration. So I'll show you that later. Attack. So basically, attack is measured in milliseconds. So attack is basically how fast will that compression start to happen. So in 15 milliseconds, it'll start hitting that compressor. And I'll show you guys what that looks like along with when we do the example of the knee. Release is how much is it holding it in order to let it go. So release is basically saying, oh, I'm gonna hold it until this many milliseconds, right? The longer it's gonna be compressed. The less, okay? So right now it's at 51 milliseconds, so it's gonna hold it for 51 milliseconds and then let it go until the next threshold gets heard Does it make sense? Okay. Let's go onto the side here. So right here, we have what's called a limiter. This feature is here, but I wouldn't use it here. I would actually use a separate limiter for another time. But a limiter is essentially kind of the same thing, but instead of compressing, it's basically saying at this threshold, stop me letting it go past it. That's kind of the best way I can explain that for now. When I have more of a understanding to explain it better, that'll probably be for another video, okay? Distortion. Okay, so distortion is essentially when harmonies, harmonics. So essentially, distortion will, I mean, what it sounds like, it'll start distorting the signal, right? So when you distort a signal, it can either sound unpleasing or pleasing. So depending on what kind of distortion you want, it'll affect it in a different way. Obviously, this is to be for a different time. Obviously, we'll talk about it on another video. The mix knob. Oh, I'm so sorry. Before we do that, this is part of the release here. This is auto release, so it'll release it when it'll like read the signal and it'll release it basically with the algorithm of the actual compressor. I also like turning that off. That way I can dial in my own release. Okay. So the mix knob. The mix knob is essentially saying how much of this compression do we want in the signal. It'll basically split the signals in half. Let's say you put it at 50%. You'll have half of the signal compressed, half of it not. Make sense? Yes? Okay, good. Thank you. Freaking Dora the Explorer out here, man. All right, so now this is the output. This is essentially how much output is coming out of the signal after it went through the whole compression. Okay, so through here, we can adjust the gain here, but I'd rather you work on it through the makeup gain. You basically want these two numbers to be around the same, depending on where you want the volume to be. If you want it to be quieter, then it's okay if it's quieter. It all depends on the context of the song. So we're gonna go ahead and play this real quick. I know I haven't shown you guys what this sounds like. I did show you guys in the last video. So let's go ahead and hear what it sounds like now.
And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I would pick and make the right choice, making sure I reckon. And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path.
Okay, so obviously his vocals are quieter than the volume of the context of the song. So we obviously want it to be even and we want it to be brought up. So essentially what we want to do is create a space where it can be compressed but also doesn't sound bad distorted. And from there we can create more pleasing musical sound so it sounds like it's part of the music. So to do that, we obviously need to set the threshold. We need to set the ratio. We're gonna set the attack. We're gonna set the release. The knee, I will explain as we go. So threshold, we're gonna leave it alone for now. The ratio, I like putting it at 4:1. It'll automate it to whatever is the closest value to that. Attack, the faster the attack, the more sharp, if that's the best way to describe it, the more sharp the sound of the vocal is going to be. And then release, the longer you hold it, the more it'll sound like you'll hear the compression sound on it. So obviously if you have a faster release, it'll let it go faster and it'll have more movement to it if you have it at a faster release. But if you wanted a longer one, it's all based off preference in that point. So what I like to do, I like putting in a nice little fast release here. Okay, sorry about that, folks. My camera died. So where were we? So we're gonna go ahead and all right. So we put the ratio here at 4. We're gonna put the attack pretty fast. I like to put it at 1 millisecond. So I want it to hit right away, right? So release, I like to put it around 80 milliseconds. That way it gives me still like a nice good amount of compression, but also still lets it be more musical movement. Get me? Okay. And then we're gonna go play the threshold until we get about 9 dB of reduction, and then we're gonna get makeup gain of 9 dB of reduction. So we're gonna be looking at this number right here, and then we'll go ahead and grab that into we're gonna go ahead and match it into the music. Okay, so let's go ahead.
And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I would pick and make the right choice, making sure I reckon. And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete.
So as you can see, the vocal got quieter. So now, obviously, once we bring it down, we need to bring up the volume back. So now let's go ahead and bring it in, and let's try to match and fit it into the vocal, into the music, I'm sorry.
And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I would pick and make the right choice, making sure I reckon. And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I would pick and make the right choice, making sure I reckon. And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where.
Let's go ahead. Let's see if soft distortion.
And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I would pick and make the right choice, making sure I reckon. And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I would pick and make the right choice, making sure I reckon. And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I would pick and make the right choice, making sure I reckon. And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I would pick and make the right choice, making sure I reckon. And I remember when I.
Okay, so didn't really need 9 dB of makeup gain because I felt like it was a little too much on top of the vocal. I mean, on top of the mix. So I brought it down like 3 more dB just so it can sit in the pocket of the mix, in the pocket. Okay. So the knee, let's go ahead and put the graph here so you can see what the knee looks like. Basically, it's instead of the threshold being the only factor, so the knee is essentially saying like, oh, I'm gonna let it pass that threshold a little bit more. I'm gonna start compressing a little bit more, and instead of being at that threshold right away, it'll do it a little bit earlier. So that is essentially what this is doing. So it's not like a huge amount, but it could be sharper. This is the sharpest, obviously, the sharpest knee, but you could also smooth it out so it doesn't sound as aggressive.
And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I would pick and make the right choice, making sure I reckon. And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I would pick and make the right choice, making sure I reckon. And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options.
Okay. Excuse me. So, as you can see, now we have compressed it to a nice, sexy spot in context with the mix. And now we can, start to do other effects. Obviously, there's still some S's that I want to handle. we can also talk about that in the next video. So I appreciate you guys so much. If you guys enjoyed or got any value from this, please, please, please leave me a like. Please don't consider subbing. Please consider subbing. If you guys enjoyed the video, I appreciate you. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I hope you have a great time making music. Take care.
And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I will.
If you guys like the video, click on this one right here if you want to see another video from me. Thanks for watching, guys.
And I remember when I started, I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. Now many options in my path, but I felt incomplete. It's almost like God wanted to check what I will pick and make the right choice, making sure I recognize the noise.